Well, okay, as you can see, I did go ahead and recap before doing the IFs and the cleanup of the chassis. Reason being, the old ones, that, yeah, as you saw, they were falling apart. It was harder to get at with everything, with desoldering. So changed the resistors, all the ones that were sus. I've still got to check one there. And the caps, we put in a couple of little electrodes where the other ones were, and certainly cleared up a bit of space. Heat shrunk the couple of chokes that were there. So now it's on with the show. Remove the IF transformers, drill the rivets out for the valve bases so I can just drop them and try and clean up underneath in here. Clean up most of the area underneath, but just so it's nice and clean. We certainly can't get it as good as what we're going to get the top of it because the components are in there. But anyway, that's we'll go from here. Right, that's got those out. Yes, wonder what's in there. Now, I've made a mark there that goes towards the front of the radio, which we're going to have to put a very, well, I do, put a very small indent in this fellow to mark the front. Because all four of these wires are connected, so I just want to make sure that, and when this fella goes in, that terminal there should line up with the hole anyway. So we'll see what's in here. nothing's jumped out. And been a spider, but not much else. Only a little bit of wax. Otherwise, fairly good order. But yeah, a little spider been in there. So that's the front. And when he goes in, it is the top one here that goes under the hole, which I will also just scrape a little bit off him, just so I know which one goes under the hole and which way around he all goes, because it could be a couple of weeks by the time I get all this back together. I've got to clean these cans. So we'll clean him up later. We're working on the chassis today. Oh, and by the way, I mark these, just put them in a bag so I know what is what when I'm working on them. This one's self-explanatory because he's all 4 wires connected, but 1 and 2, I've only got the 3 wires connected. And a little bit confusing if you go to put them in and you haven't made notes as to which one's which. I just like to keep everything in order as it came out. Now, as you saw, I joined some wires together as, where are we? Here, and up here, I just resoldered them, and these fellas, just so I know all those 3 go together when I'm putting it all back together. Just saves a lot of looking up and time. So now the job is drill these small rivets out, get these fellas off, and drop the valve bases a little bit. I've got to take this filler down and then start masking up some holes here. I'll probably, I think I've got a sheet of tin foil or something like that. You can also use foil tape or something like that that will just be okay for the glass bead process. So there we go. We're going to take these fellas off now. So this is our next job. Well, this is the next part, which will be cleaning up the chassis with our sandblaster. Now, there's not much left of this old girl. She's in a lot of pieces. I've covered in all the holes. This is aluminium flashing for a house. It comes in a roll. It's about, I don't know, probably 0.8, maybe 1 mil thick. Underneath, looks a mess, I know, but just got the some gaffer tape to hold the aluminium in position. Nothing should get in there. I've got these 2 to cover up yet. but everything else is pretty well covered up. We'll see, can we get rid of most of this rubbish off the top and paint it. I'm not sure what we're going to do with the final coat yet. All right, we'll take him out and get going with it. Okay, guys. Now, while I'm been doing the chassis, I decided to take the switches and the volume control out. Volume control I wasn't real sure of, so taken him apart, cleaned up a little bit of the rust around the edges. He's a 500k pod, old school, and taken him apart, cleaned up the center disc, and actually this works very nicely. I've cleaned him all up. Now, I don't know, a lot of people wouldn't have seen these old school fellas, I suppose, but anyone in vintage radio would be very, very familiar. So, yeah, these are what we had to do in the old days. Clean the track up. And there's a little spring there that runs along the track. And it works very nicely on this one, so very pleased, because sometimes these tracks can get a crack. Sometimes they can just deteriorate beyond using. So I'm very, very happy that this is working, so we can put this little fella back together. The power switch, which is just the 6-volt power switch to the vibrator, turns him on and off. As you can see, very pitted on the shaft, but I've cleaned the shaft up. Haven't done this bit yet with the switching mechanism, but all seems to go quite nicely. So yeah, we'll clean that one up, and that is just our I think from memory, I think we've got off, you've got on, the radio just on, and on with the dial lights. The dial lights, you could run it with the dial lights off so that you didn't consume the battery. So there he is. We've just got a bit of contact cleaning of that, and we'll be right with that fella. This one is the tone control. I've left some gear on him, so I know where, well, it's an easy way of knowing where things go back together. 2-position switch. He's quite hard to move, actually, so a little bit of cleaning necessary here. And look at the shaft. That's how much corrosion this shaft has had. So not going to do too much here. There's enough meat here on the end of him to for our knob to attach onto. But I don't know, this radio must have been underwater at some stage for the amount of corrosion. But it's all in the challenge. Hopefully all this gear will work. So we've just got to free this fellow up. The grease is a little bit hard in him. Clean the contacts, and he's right to go. Now, I'll show you the chassis has been sandblasted, and I will give you guys a look at it, and it's almost ready for painting. I'm going to have to repaint. Okay, here's the chassis. It's all masked off at the moment. He has been sandblasted, but unfortunately in areas alike, especially around there, around here. A lot of damage from rust. A little bit around the second tube here, but the chassis has come up quite nice. There's not much left of him. And there we go. The rear looks quite good. This will it will paint up quite well inside, as it was. Heaps of masking tape to hold my aluminium in there, as discussed before, just before we sandblasted it. So nothing was damaged under here. We've just got a few more loose wires up here where our controls have been taken out. Probably should have taken them out in the first place, actually, but I was trying to skip a corner there. But anyway, there it is. So we're going to put probably a coating of kill rust on this. I've yet to work out what colour to paint this, but I'm thinking pewter, a goldish, yellowish shade. Pewter sort of matches. Okay, well, there's the update so far, so I'll leave it at that, and we'll get on with the job of painting and come back to you very shortly. Okay guys, I think that's a wrap for this segment. The video is getting sort of close to the half hour, so we might split him up. The next part will be reassembling, putting things back together, which I'm looking fairly forward to after this amount of time, and polishing the case. So we'll see how we go there, and then we go on to little things like restringing the dial cord and all sorts of things, but that's a long way off yet, I think. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's just about my journey on this old girl. Lots of rust, lots of things to get rid of. So, okay, if you're enjoying the series, please remember to like and subscribe. And if you hit the bell, it will notify you when my next video goes up. By subscribing, it helps me along the track of YouTube, and we just keep making videos on my repairs. Okay then, until next time, it's bye for now.